everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or for those of you who are new here, hi, how are you? My name is Eleftheria, and in this series we are talking about UX and UI. This is going to be the last video of this series, but if you have any suggestions, recommendations or tips, comment below and I'll make sure to check them out and maybe, if possible, do a video. If you're interested about this kind of stuff, then please like this video, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, without further ado, let's get started with this video. And as you may have understood by the title of it, we are going to be talking about errors and how to make them a little bit better to help your user. So, error messages and how to write them effectively for your user. We all know that the best error message is the one that never shows up. But no matter how good our design is, errors are unavoidable. When people interact with products, eventually something is bound to go wrong. Error messages may seem trivial, but they are a critical component of user experience. Users often evaluate the quality of the product by the quality of error messages. Poorly written error messages are one of the things that annoy users. Good error messages, UX design, on the other hand, can increase the speed of use and user subjectification. In this video, I want to share the top 6 recommendations on how to write and design user-friendly error messages. The recommendations are based on guidelines created by Microsoft and Apple design guidelines. 1. Clarity is key. When it comes to writing error messages, clarity is your top priority. You need to describe what happened, why it happened, and what the user can do about it. The message should be written in plain language so that the target users can easily understand both the problem and the solution. My tip here is to avoid abstract error messages. Abstract error messages don't contain enough information about the problem. In many cases, they simply state the fact that something went wrong and don't help users understand the root cause of the problem. Don't just assume people know about the context of a message. Tip number 2 is get off technical terms. If an error message contains technical terms, the users get confused. The error message should always describe the problem in terms of target user actions or goals. Even when your users are tech savvy, it's still better to use non-technical terms that everyone can easily understand. Now, the second thing is write consistently but precisely. People rarely read pages word by word. Instead, they scan the page, picking out individual sentences. The more text on a page, the harder the text is to scan, and the more likely users won't read the text at all. Research by the American Press Institute found that shorter sentences resulted in greater understanding. If sentences contain 8 words or less, readers understand and 100% of the information. If sentences contain 43 words or longer, the reader's comprehension drops to less than 10%. Try to reduce the text down to its essential in all parts of your code, including error messages. Your goal is to write short but meaningful error messages. My tip here is don't over-communicate the problem. Error messages should enable users to easily resolve a problem. Messages should only contain the information required to help them achieve this. Understand what you want to communicate and get rid of the unnecessary details that don't help you to do this. Well-designed error messages often try to explain how to fix the error. However, in some cases, it's hard to explain the problem in a single sentence. So, designers use troubleshooters, step-by-step instructions on how to solve the problem. In the following example, the error message attempts to explain every troubleshooting step. As a result, the error message becomes unreadable. Don't try to explain a complicated troubleshooting process within an error message. Instead, use progressive disclosure to provide this information. The section that contains the steps should be hidden by default, and when the users want to learn more about the problem, then they click how to fix it. 3. Don't blame the users. Never do that. Human tone and language play a tremendous impact on how users comprehend the message. Use proper tone to help users relate better to a situation with an error and help them understand it. My tip here is to avoid phrases like "you did," "you action caused." Some error messages are phrased in a way that accuses the user of making an error. Errors are already frustrating, and there is no need to add to frustration with judgment. In the end, these messages are an important, albeit small way that we communicate and build relationships with our users. Always focus on the problem. Note the user action that led to the problem. Here are 2 ways you can handle a situation when the user enters incorrect login credentials. Don't say you have entered an incorrect login or password, but do say your login and password do not match. Quick tip. A good way to incorporate a more human tone in error message UX design is to think about explaining them out loud to the person you care about. The other tip is to avoid using uppercase text and/or exclamation marks in the messages. Both uppercase text and exclamation marks create a lousy user experience. The uppercase text makes the error message difficult to read. When an error message ends with an exclamation mark, it creates an impression that the system is yelling at the users. Now, tip number 4 is to give users a solution. Imagine you wrote a very important email. Click the send button. Right after that, you see the message, "Your email could not be sent," without any details. As a result, you don't know what you could do about it. You have to pause your task and invest your time in finding the solution to the problem. When the user has to stop their task in order to correct an error, it defeats the foundation of user-centered design. Help your audience get through a task effectively and efficiently. Effective error message UX design not only informs users that a problem occurred and explain why it happened, but it also provides the next step for users so they can fix the problem. Tip: do explain the meaning of buttons. Like an error message UX design typically provide buttons that let users complete certain operations. In many cases, the buttons allow users to either proceed with the operation or cancel if they have changed their mind. The basic rule of good button design is simple. Now, users should understand what buttons will do by reading their labels, and that's it. If your error message text and button labels are clear, there should be no need to explain what the buttons do. 5. Using the right format for your error messages. Error messages are typically presented using modal dialog boxes, overlays that prevent users from interaction with underlying content. Putting error messages in modal dialog boxes has a major benefit. It gets 100% of the user's attention. However, this quickly becomes a drawback if that attention isn't necessary. In many cases, it's possible to store the error messages using alternative patterns such as inline or as a status message. When designing error messages, ask a simple question. Does the user need to be interrupted to read this message? If not, consider alternatives to using a modal dialog box. 6. Limit the number of error messages that users see. Frequently displayed error messages are a sign of bad error message UX. Error messages disrupt the user experience and create friction. Thus, they should only be used in important situations like destructive action, such as deletions. The infrequent of alerts helps ensure that people take them seriously. My tip here is to use constraint controls. It's usually better to prevent an error than to report one. Many errors can be avoided through better design. UI elements like sliders and dates and time pickers should be constrained to valid values. For example, for an experience that lets you book a hotel date picker, you should disable the dates in the past. It's also possible to constrain text boxes to accept only certain characters. For example, if you expect users to enter a phone number in the text field, you can accept only numbers and create a phone number mask for this field. Last but not least, you can disable the call to action buttons for input forms at times when clicking them would result in an error. This point is valid for data submission forms as long as it's obvious why the control is disabled. It prevents users from making unnecessary actions. And my tip here is do not report errors that users don't care about. Software developers often rely on error messages that indicate some error system conditions. The messages that indicate that there is a bug in the system have meaning only to the programmer, but not the users. The users don't care about them. Aside from dismissing the error message, there is nothing users can do about such messages. So my tip here would be to correct errors. If the problem can be corrected automatically, it should be corrected automatically. For example, the search form should automatically correct mistyping. And another tip here is to have an error message design strategy. When it comes to designing error messages, it's vital to think holistically. Start with research and analysis and think about all the places in your product that things could go wrong. List them out and then start to design a consistently and friendly error message for each. Work with UX writers to review existing errors messages, and UX writers will take both the context and the user state of mind into account when reviewing the errors and update error tags where required. And don't forget to validate your solutions. Always test your error messages with real users, and this is something that we've talked before. Error messages design might seem like an insignificant thing, but it can have a tremendous impact on user experience. By reducing frictions, you keep your users on track and help them complete what they've planned. Okay guys, that was it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, this last videos or this series, and if you did, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would be very important for me to do so, and you know, it's just free. Again, thank you very much for watching. Have a beautiful day, and if you want something, just comment below and I will check it out. See you really soon. Bye.